Great catching up with my next guest. Cory Sandhagen is going to be headlining the UFC Fight Night card on July 24th against TJ Dillashaw. Cory, how's it going, man? How's everything?
I'm good, James. How are you?
Doing well, but not as good as you, though, man. I see you've been traveling everywhere. You've been doing a lot of cross-training. But before we even get into that, how was your July 4th? Did you get up to anything?
I didn't do anything July 4th. I had, like you said, I've been training with a lot of different guys, so I've been hosting at my house a lot. So for like the past 2 weeks, I've had guys staying with me. So I kind of needed a day to not socialize at all, and that's July 4th.
That's good. So did you go to the mountains? That's usually what one does when they want to get away from everything.
No, I stayed on the couch and enjoyed the house being empty just for me, all by myself.
That's good. You're a good host. I'm the same way. I don't like too many people at my place. Although, you know, if you want to come over, that's fine, but just not too long. So then it kind of gets on my nerves. I think we're kind of in agreement there. Let's talk about this matchup. Obviously, the last time we spoke was when the fight got canceled, and I knew they were trying to reschedule in July, and here we are. It's happening in July 24th. When did you actually find out this fight was official for the rescheduled date?
I'm not sure. It feels like it was a really long time ago now, but it was pretty shortly after it had gotten canceled. The biggest thing was they were just trying to find a main event slot, or else we could have done it earlier. But I was pretty adamant about having it be a 5-round main event. So we waited for that.
Yeah, and I know from what TJ said in some of the interviews he's done, it was the same thing. He wanted a 5-round fight as well. What I don't get is why couldn't they just do a Nate Diaz and give you guys a 5-round fight on another card? Like they could have done one for this weekend, for example.
Yeah, good question. Probably because neither one of us are Nate Diaz.
I was just going to say, yeah, I guess it's the Nate Diaz rule. I guess if you're Nate Diaz, you can get 5 rounds. Doesn't matter if there's a title on the line or whatever. It doesn't make a difference. So, yeah, that makes sense. But you know, I think this time off, I mean, maybe I'm speaking for you here, but it seems like it's been beneficial for you in a way because you've done so much cross-training. I was sort of looking through Instagram. So you got to train with Rafion Stotts, Ryan Hall. I mean, you've trained with Ryan before, Sergio Pettis. Where have you had the opportunity to train and who have you got a chance to work with?
Yeah, so I went out to Duke Rufus's for a couple days, and then because I mean Duke is a really good coach, but he has a lot of really good 135ers, a lot of really good smaller guys, so who aren't in the UFC. So there's nothing weird there. Sometimes training with like really good guys, it can be a little bit more difficult if they have a lot of UFC guys and stuff. Obviously, a lot of people aren't okay with that. So yeah, that was the thinking behind that. They have Rafion, who's really good. They have this dude Christian, who's really good, who's kind of on the more regional scene, and then of course Sergio. So yeah, it was good. I trained with them for, like I said, like half a week, and then I had Rafion out here for a week. And have you ever got to talk to Rafion?
Cory, I've been interviewing Rafion since he was in Victory Fighting Championship when he fought Jeff Curran, believe it or not. I know Rafion very well. A really good guy. Actually just moved out to Texas, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. Yeah, he's become one of my favorite people ever. That guy is just like super positive. Like he had me in a really good mood all week. So he was out here for about a half a week, a little bit more than a half a week, helping me train too. And then I had a guy, Christian, out here too, also from Rufus's. So, yeah, training with a lot of Rufus guys. And Duke was really accommodating. Duke has been really cool with allowing that. So I'm really grateful for him and his team.
So what was the connection of you going out to Rufus Sport? Did you know someone? Was it Rafion? Who did you know that sort of made that connection for you to go train out there?
So me and Rafion had kind of talked about it, and then it kind of just never really lined up. And then also with Sergio, I told Sergio that I would love to train with Sergio too, and just kind of never pulled the trigger, man. Sometimes like going out of, you know, what I'm used to sometimes in camp can be a little bit, I don't know, just not routine. So it's a little bit, it feels out of the way, you know, to go all the way out to Milwaukee or to have people stay at your house is just kind of a little bit out of the routine. But I'm really grateful that I did it. It's definitely something that I'm going to try to do in future camps and even more in the future.
So let me go back even further then. How do you know Rafion? That would be my question, because he's in Bellator. What's the connection? I'm always trying to put these clues together, is how people know each other.
Just talking on Instagram, man. That's how people...
Really? Okay, interesting. Okay.
Nowadays, isn't it?
Yeah, no, for sure. Isn't that how you got on Rogan's as well? Wasn't it a DM thing on Instagram? I can't remember.
Yeah, Joe just sent me he just sent me
There
a
you go,
DM.
bringing everyone together, not just nice women to look at, right? So Instagram has a purpose, it seems. And then I mentioned Ryan Hall there. I don't know how much time you got to spend with him, but Ryan's obviously fighting this Saturday at the time we're recording this. How much did you get to work with him this camp?
I was with him for about a little more than half a week. I had to leave a little bit early because I just had to come back home for some family stuff. But yeah, I was with Ryan maybe 7 weeks out, uh, which is usually when I try to go visit Ryan because if I try to visit Ryan too close to my fight, sometimes he's just so good and so technical that my brain isn't as smart as his brain. So uh, it takes me a lot more time for me to download information than it does for Ryan to relay it to me. So it takes like weeks and weeks for me to kind of understand things that he's telling me. So I try to make it out to DC and train with, or I guess Virginia, to train with Ryan for kind of as early as I can in camps.
That's good. And from what you saw, how is he looking? Because obviously, big fight. I actually think he's the underdog this weekend in this fight.
Oh, is he seriously?
Yeah.
Well, you make a lot of money on that fight because, like I said, man, Ryan is just like he's amazing, man. He's really, really amazing. He's super thoughtful. He any question I have for him, he answers, with like a really good answer, one that like I would deem like a good answer. And he's just like Ryan works really hard too. Like he's a really hard worker, which I mean that guy has everything going for him. He's kind of a genius, and he works really hard. And like, what else do you need?
Yeah, and I know Wonder Boy actually brought him in, I think, for part of his camp as well to work on the ground game against Gilbert Burns. Time we're recording this, obviously, Wonder Boy fighting Gilbert Burns this Saturday, right? So.
Yep. I know that him and Thompson do a lot of training as well.
So there you go. And then back at Team Elevation, who are you mainly working with over there? Same cast of character. Justin Wetzel, your buddy, got a nice win in LFA not that long ago, right?
Yeah, really big win in LFA. So I've been training with Wetzel a lot. Wetzel is kind of getting ready, or he's kind of, crossing his fingers that one of these bantamweight fights on my card pulls out and he can jump in short notice, which would be really, really cool for the both of us. So a lot with Wetzel, a lot with Austin Hubbard, a lot with Carrington Banks, a lot with, the few 125ers that we have on the amateur circuit out here that I train too, and yeah, kind of same old guys here.
That's good. Are you someone that, like, when you have a fight coming up like this, I know TJ's not posting a ton of stuff, but do you look at any of his training stuff, or do you not even like pay attention to that? You just focus on yourself for this type of camp?
I think sometimes I will, but I think for most of the people, I think that they're kind of wise enough to know that guys are probably doing that. So I know in the past I've posted things that I'm definitely 100% not going to do in the fight on Instagram, just so that they maybe have to think about it a little bit. And I imagine that that's probably the case for them also.
And do you watch tape, or is that something your coaches do at all?
My coaches watch tape. We'll watch tape together early in the camp, and then the only tape watching that I do, especially with TJ, who hasn't fought in 2.5 years. So who knows what his style has turned into, especially with Dwayne, who I know is constantly adding stuff to his game and stuff. So not a lot of tape watching for TJ, honestly. Just kind of early in camp, little things, and then my coaches do a lot more like throughout the camp, but I don't do any as it gets closer.
It was interesting when you guys trained together was that I believe it was, were you in the UFC at the time? I was trying to remember how far back you guys had trained and how long it was.
I went out to Alpha Male to help him get ready for his Barral fight when I was still an amateur.
Oh, wow. Okay, so it does go that far back. I was trying to remember, yeah.
Yep, and then I think I had my first few fights in the UFC while he was still out here in
At Muscle
Colorado.
Farm, yeah.
Yep, and then he left, and I haven't really seen him since. I saw him on that card when he fought Henry, just because me and him were fighting on the same card. But that's kind of the only time I think we've spoken since then.
How's your weight cut going ahead of the fight?
Yeah, good. Good. So I usually do like a 3-week taper. So right now I'm doing a lot less volume, which is really nice. I like doing like 7 weeks of like suffering and trying to kill myself, and then as it gets closer to the fight, I have like my 2 weeks of tapering where I'm still training really hard, but it's a lot less volume, and then that fight week where it's just kind of, making sure that I'm rested and losing the weight and stuff. So I'm kind of dialing it in really good now. I feel like each one is a little bit more natural and easier, especially since I feel like this will be my 4th fight camp in a row. It feels like with, just maybe like a couple weeks in between, but yeah, I'm really in a good groove right now, man. It feels like I could do this almost every single day, and I'm kind of used to it now.
Would you say the time that, because you were supposed to fight earlier this year, would you say the time off has made you a better fighter? You've sort of added more to the toolbox?
I really don't. I definitely have added things to the toolbox, but I don't really feel like I've had a ton of time off, to be honest. I feel like after the Frankie fight, I maybe had like 2 or 3 weeks, and then it was into that camp for TJ in May. And then that one obviously ended. I took, 2 or 3 weeks kind of down on that one and then started the other camp. So it feels like, and then even before that, it was Marais in October. So it feels like it's been, like my 4th one in a row.
Your corner, imagine Christian Aller. Who else is going to be in your corner?
Christian Allen and Carrington Banks still.
Awesome. And
I was thinking, man, I'm a really big Hasbulla fan. I kind of want to have Hasbulla in the corner.
Yeah, have you been watching all this stuff, I guess? That's probably the one good thing on Instagram is you get to see all that stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that would be cool to have that guy in the corner.
So have you made any requests? Have you sent a distress signal out there and said, hey, I want him in my corner? Because I can he even get in the U.S.? I don't know with all the travel restrictions.
I don't think I will realistically, only because I don't see fighting as like a joke, I think that would be very jokey. So to have that actually be the case, I think would probably distract me in the back.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Have you spoken to him or his team at all, or are you just sort of watching him from afar?
Oh no, I just love watching all of the videos on that guy. I think
good for him, man. He's soaking it up as he should be. I mean, that's the way to take in something like that, right? So there's the whole, what was it, the face off, and then after that thing blew up. What about the other guy? I don't get how he doesn't get as much shine in that either, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Some people just have the it factor, he has the it factor.
Yeah, I agree. How's this fight playing out on July 24th? Obviously, you feel like you're going to win, but how do you envision it playing out?
I think I'm just going to do the best that I can at the things that I've been working on. I think that I've really tightened up all of the holes, or maybe not all of the holes, but a very good amount of holes in my game. I think I've been able to plug up. I feel like I don't have too many inadequacies anymore. I feel very confident in my ability to handle myself in every single position. So I feel really confident about it, and I'm really happy with where my game is going. And I know it still needs some work, but I think as long as I do what the game plan is, I'm going to have a very successful night.
Now, this seems like an obvious question, but, I mean, is a title shot next? And I know, obviously, we got to see what happens. It looks like the rematch between Aljamain Sterling and Petr Yan is next, but I would imagine everyone's been looking at this fight as, the winner of this fighting the winner of that. Is that kind of your idea, or your indication? I know you're not expecting anything, but is that kind of what you have in your head?
I try not to put too many things in my head just because I know how crazy of a sport it is. So I'm really trying to accept any possibility after this one. I think definitely after this one, I'll have a lot of name value. I'll have a pretty good argument for fighting for the title afterwards. But I also think Rob Font is coming off of a really good win too. And if the UFC tries to make that one, then maybe we'll do that also. I'm not sure. I'm pretty prepared for whatever. If they want to do me and Font beforehand, then fine. Because who knows when they're actually going to reschedule this thing. And then it's also like I don't really want to sit on the bench when I could be gaining more experience and making another paycheck, for who knows how long after these guys fight. So a lot of unknowns, so it's kind of hard to say.
Well, and also, do you think with the fact that they just did this interim heavyweight title that there's a possibility they could do one at bantamweight if they don't get this rematch booked? Is that something that's crossed your mind?
I think about everything under the sun has probably crossed my mind.
Okay, fair enough. Okay.
which is kind of why it's really hard to narrow it down to. I guess a dream possibility is like, yeah, they're just like, maybe, yeah, a dream possibility is I just fight for the title right afterwards, but I think a lot of weird things have to happen in order for that to happen. So, like I said, man, I'm being really accepting. I have no problem gaining more experience, fighting a really tough guy before then, just to make my argument even stronger and to go into a title fight where those don't come around every day. So making sure that I'm the best possible fighter and athlete that I can be, and experienced athlete that I can be is definitely something that I want to have happen too. So like I said, we'll kind of just see what the UFC says.
You mentioned Rob Font there. What did you think of his win over Cody Garbrandt? Did you expect him to be that dominant in the fight?
I didn't expect him to be that dominant. I think he did really great. I think it was more so Cody making more mistakes than it was Rob Font being really that much better than him, to be honest with you. I think Cody was really excited, and he just made a couple of early mistakes that gassed himself out, and that was where Cody's mistakes were, and he definitely paid for it. But I thought Rob Font looked great, man. I thought I was really happy for him. Like, I think it's really cool when one of these lower guys, or I shouldn't say lower, but one of these.
I know what you mean. Like a guy that's not maybe as well known has a breakout performance. Kind of like you, actually. It's like if you think about your last couple fights that has really put you in that contender spot.
Sure, and I know how hard it is to have that breakout fight. So I'm really happy for the dude that he got to have that.
Oh, it's very cool. I like hearing that. You mentioned Cody and his mistakes. Do you think this is something he's had throughout his entire career? Or do you think the fact that he did switch camps might have actually hurt him in this case? Like, just as an outsider, do you sort of pay attention to
that? No, not really. To be honest with you, I think Cody just made the mistake of shooting too many shots early in the fight and completely throwing away his best asset, which is his athleticism. But I know that that's probably not the easiest thing it's probably not that easy to not shoot against Rob Font, being that Rob Font has a lot of pressure and getting him off of you looks really hard. So, I see why he was shooting so often in the beginning, but I also think that it just completely threw away his best asset, which is his athleticism.
Do you think Cody should drop to 125? And the only reason I mention that is because, with this loss, him being a contender, him trying to go on a run for a title in one of the most stacked divisions doesn't seem like a great idea. He's talked about going down to 125. It seems like maybe a win or two, or maybe even right off the bat, he could get that title shot.
Yeah, I think if he wants to, he can. I think that if he can make 125 pretty healthily, I think that he'll definitely do really well at 125. I could see a fight, him and Moreno being... I could see Cody being really successful in that one, just stylistically. So that might be the best move for him.
Do you think with him cutting that much weight, though, I know he's not a huge bantamweight, but him cutting that much weight, do you not think he'd be a little bit more susceptible to getting knocked out? Because he has been knocked out before, and I know when you cut weight, there's sort of that theory out there that if you cut too much weight, you're more susceptible to being knocked out. Do you buy that at all, or no?
I do buy that. I only buy that up to the extent of how are these people losing weight, because I've heard some really crazy stories of some really really experienced guys that I would consider smart, intelligent dudes cutting weight in a very unintelligent way, and so it's kind of hard to say. I don't really know where Cody falls in that category. I know for myself, for me to be confident cutting down to 135, I have to do it over a stretch of time, and I have to do it in a way that is just, I'm not going to leave the last 15 pounds for the week of, or the last 20 pounds for the week of, which is what I hear a decent amount of people do. So I guess it kind of depends on that. But I think if you do it smart and you do it safely and you do it with some help, it can be done fairly without any repercussions in the area of, being more or less susceptible to being knocked out.
Couple more quick questions. Sticking with your division, Sean O'Malley's fighting a newcomer this weekend. Are you one of those people? I mean, I don't know. We're all fans of the sport, but do you not want to see O'Malley tested a little bit? I mean, he's fighting a guy that just signed to the UFC. He's been in the UFC for a while. I know his original opponent, Louis Smolka, was out, but I think there's some of us who want to just see him, take that step up. And I know there's not a ton of options, but it just seems a little, I don't know. You want to see more of O'Malley at this point.
I do. I would like to see him fight some tougher guys. I also don't really know how much of that is on Sean O'Malley and how much of that is on the UFC, and also just maybe no one stepped up to the plate. I know that the Simone guy stepped up to the plate, but then he said that he couldn't make weight. So it might not be on O'Malley, so I'll kind of give him the benefit of the doubt because when I hear him do interviews and when I watch him speak, you can kind of see that he wants to be a champ. Like, I believe that he wants to be a champ, but if you kind of look at his track record, he's fighting guys that aren't going to really make him a champion. So I don't know how much of that is UFC and how much of that is him. I'm assuming, honestly, that this is not really Sean's decision. This is kind of more the UFC giving him a list of names, and I don't think too many guys in the division honestly stepped up, and he probably had to choose a debut guy.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, that could absolutely be the case as well. And then sticking with your team, Justin Gaethje, I know you work with him a lot. There was that weird thing on social media, I don't know if you saw that, where someone said that Gaethje was going to retire. They apparently talked to one of his teammates, and it was all BS. Gaethje came out right away to his credit and was like, none of that's true. How's he doing? Because I know obviously he wants to fight, but he wants to have the right fight, obviously.
Yeah, Gaethje's good. I still see him almost every single day. I just left sparring with him not too long ago, so he's still working hard. He's still helping all the guys on the team that need the help. So Gaethje's still in the gym. He's still working hard, and he's still being a part of the team and helping the guys. So that's kind of where Gaethje is in life, I guess. I haven't spoken to him too much about what his next thing is going to be or whatever. But as far as it seems like he has a fight coming up with the way that he's training.
Yeah, no, for sure. Good to know. And last question, you mentioned having the day off to yourself. What do you like? What are you doing? What are you watching on TV? What does a Cory Sandhagen day off, no one's bothering you type day look like?
It looks like so right now I'm much closer to the fight, so I'm trying to gear everything that I'm kind of doing in my brain towards being as savage as I can. So right now I'm rewatching Vikings actually, which is a show that I've watched once before, but I'm gonna rewatch it again just because I like what it does to my brain. I like those Viking characters and the warriors of the Vikings are really inspiring to me. So I've been watching a lot of Vikings lately.
Have you done that throughout your entire career? Or is this something recently you started doing?
No, this is actually something recent. I really have found a lot of benefit in reading more or less, I don't want to say violent things, but violent things, military-esque things, strategic ways of thinking things. Like right now I'm reading Robert Greene's Mastery book. So Robert Greene is also one of my favorite people to read because he's very Machiavelli. And I dig those types of things, especially in the intense world of MMA. So yeah, I try to watch things of that nature, read things of that nature, listen to music of thing that is really not soft. I try to listen to
heavy metal, like just like I don't know. I'm just trying to imagine something that would be like really firing you up or whatever. Some Metallica, probably, right?
Some heavy metal, some like just the meaner the rap, the better, and yeah, things like that. I try to in my brain, I try to be as mean as I can.
And then on the outside, it's, kind of the opposite. I don't mean that in a bad way, but you're a very like nice, polite guy. Like you wouldn't think that this is, it's one of those things. Like it's almost like a Jekyll and Hyde thing. Do you feel that way?
I do feel that way. I'm getting pretty decent at, like making it happen when I want it to happen. And I'm being pretty decent at, okay, my workouts are done for today. So let's not think about things that we don't really need to think about now.
There you go, like doing interviews. Cory, thanks so much for doing this. Really appreciate it, man. Anyone you want to thank, any sponsors, any social media, I'll give you the last word.
No, that's it. Just watch my fights, please. Just watch my fights.
Make sure to subscribe to the LowKick MMA YouTube channel for all the latest news, event previews, and interviews with some of the biggest stars in MMA.